Before launching into this, just as a reminder, I do have a Patreon that is a single tier, $1 a month, gets you early access to videos and supports the channel. If you'd rather support the channel in a less direct but still helpful way, I also have a link for the link for the Patreon is in the description, but also down in the description is a link for the Discord server for ShowZ, which if you follow that link and join the server, gets me 50 points of store credit that I can use towards future purchases, which can then end up being used in future videos. And ShowZ, really great, highly recommended overseas site. And I'm not actually like sponsored or anything like that. I just have the Discord link, like that's the extent of it. But I have legitimately, honestly, truthfully used them for a lot of my orders, and they're great. Really, comparable prices. I've always personally gotten free shipping to the US. There are paid shipping options, but I always go with the free option. So it takes a couple of weeks, but good stuff, great customer service, and they are building up a pretty nice Discord community. So if you want to join that, you can check that out as well. So with that out of the way, Legacy Minerva. This was a pain to find. What actually ended up happening was this Minerva belongs in the special category of figures I will never get rid of, purely based on personal stuff. Sort of like my G1 Bumblebee, like that's just never going anywhere. Because Minerva, this is, again, kind of personal, but I'll keep it vague so it's not gross or anything like that. But a few months back, I had to go in for an elective surgery. Nothing major, it wasn't like life-threatening or even really physically threatening in any capacity, but I had to, go in for a little bit of surgery. I was really nervous because me and surgery do not mix well. It's just a thing that always bugged me. But Diana got me Legacy Minerva as a little, you came out the other side, you did it kind of treat. So I'm never getting rid of Minerva because she was a kind of a reminder of me getting through that. And also, she was a pain in the butt to get. Could not find her anywhere at any of our local Walgreens because, Walgreens is exclusive because Hasbro loves their exclusives. But she ended up actually ordering it off of the website a few months back. So no idea if it's still available. So got Minerva, and then wouldn't you know it, a few weeks ago I was walking into Walgreens and they actually had a Minerva on the shelves, so that was fun. But point is, I have Legacy Minerva, and she is an interesting little figure. I never got Elita 1. When I saw that they were doing Minerva, I was like, I'm going to hold out for Minerva. Not because I have any specific connection to the character, I just thought the red and white color scheme was better in my mind. Also because I don't have a connection to the character. I do not care that she's not a Headmaster, so you're not going to get any complaints from me about that. But yeah, it is a cute little futuristic looking car thing. Not strictly Cybertronian per se. Like this looks more like, I don't know, future concept car from like the early 20th century, like 1930s, 40s, 50s, 60s, somewhere around there, like what they would think a futuristic car would look like. And minus the gun on top, I just have that plugged up there for reasons. But that's kind of what I think when I look at this vehicle mode. And the weapon she comes with, this is one of two. She comes with another gun that's, I think, exactly the same, but clear. This is also clear, but painted black. Because reasons, I don't know, but this is going to go off to the side. And the little car is just like a little, almost like a buggy kind of look, and just the shapes and contours that it has. And the light bar on top is just a little accessory that unplugs. So you can see they did not do much to remold the vehicle specifically from Elita 1. But it's still cute. I'm still debating getting the repro label set for this. We'll see what happens. But I like it. I like the color distribution and breakup. The white paint for the center section does not match the plastic around it because it never does. But it's not that bad. It's much more easy to see when, you've got like all the lights on it and stuff, but it's fine. I do, though, like the color choices here. The red and white always looks really good together, and this is a really nice deep blue that works really well with the white. This is the kind of blues that I like them using with like the Studio Series Bumblebee movie Ratchet and stuff like that. Something about red, white, and then a little bit of like deep blue just works really well. Predominantly white, I should say. And the coloring is also nice too, with this red trim going around the outside, the spoiler on the back, a little bit of detail up on the hood. It looks good. There's also some nice molded details all over this thing, which it would have been nice if they were picked out in paint, but oh well. Like the headlights, or there's a really nice shape and definition to the headlights. They're just not painted. And similarly, you've got some vents on the side. The back works okay. I have my issues with the way they handled the feet here, which I'll get into in robot mode, but overall, it looks pretty good. And I like the fact that this isn't just a shell sitting over the entire robot. Yes, there is a lot of robot that is hidden underneath a shell, but all things considered, it does a much better job of hiding the robot and actually incorporating the robot than, say, Kingdoms/Earthrise RC. And yes, the head's just like, it's all right there. Kind of wish you could turn the head around, but I've tried that and it doesn't really work because of the way this sticks out. It just kind of knocks into the curvature of the hood here, so she's kind of stuck like this in her little kind of monolith form. Doesn't roll super well. That's fine. It's the wheels. The wheels themselves kind of are a little sticky in places. I don't really know why, but oh well. Again, and yeah, that's pretty much all I could say about the vehicle mode. It looks good. I like the I like the color choices here, and it's a cute little emergency vehicle looking thing. And if we zoom out, we can do our size comparison. So we'll bring in Artfire and Rotor Storm like we always do. A little bit of Burnout and Samus. And putting Minerva next to Burnout, you can see they're, roughly the same size. Burnout is a little bit taller, a little bit bulkier, but they're not that different in terms of overall size, which stands to reason because they're both deluxes. So that is how they all measure up. And then get all of these out of the way so we can bring in the most important size comparison of them all. You know the one, the only, the duck tank. I will freely admit I generally do not have much to say about alt modes most of the time because I'm much more of a robot mode and transformation guy, but yeah, it's a cute little car, what can I say? Now, to transform Minerva, first thing, going to flip these bits around to become the feet for the robot mode. Going to unplug these panels here. They unplug from here and also from right here. So unplug those and swing them down just a bit. Now we can kind of swing the legs down a bit so we can get to here and slide this joint apart. You probably could pull it, but I would suggest just sliding it apart instead, just for, safety's sake. Don't want to break that tab. And now these, what are obviously the legs, will accordion in and kind of snap into place, like so. And once they are snapped into place, you can take this panel here, the part of the spoiler, and that folds in to kind of clean up the leg and also settle that that joint in place so that things don't wiggle around too much. That cleans up the legs. Next, I want to unplug the canopy section from up here. Just now noticing the scratch here. I don't know where that came from or if that was already there, but you unplug the canopy from the arms, and then you unplug the arms from the wheel well sections. And that will free up things so that you can pull this up, and it does actually kind of soft clip, not clip, but it kind of settles hoops, if you will, into place. So it takes a little bit of force to get that moving, but you want to accordion that up. Flip this panel in, and also don't want to forget to rotate the waist around. And we can rotate the arms as well. Let's rotate the bicep, rotate the wrist. And the robot mode is done at this point. Now all we have to do is deal with the backpack. And there are a couple of different ways to do the backpack. I just do it the way that it's pretty much always shown to be done, which is untab the wheel wells from here, and those will dual hinge. You can see the strut here. Those will hinge up, and I just hinge them up as far as they will go until they kind of settle into place. Then move this, and this moves on its own little kind of double hinge. Hinge that back, and that will just kind of sit right above the light bar. And this whole thing will, it kind of supposed to plug in, like this little tab here will plug into a, I can't really see if there's like a slot on her back. And it does plug in, but it doesn't plug in, if that makes sense. It's like it's in there, but it's not solidly in there, so the backpack likes to move around pretty easily, which is kind of annoying, but that is how it's supposed to go. So that's it. There we have Minerva in her robot mode. And it's a pretty good robot mode. I like how variable the shoulder bits are, like these bits, and the color breakup is really nice. I do have my issues with it, which we will get into, but overall I think she cleans up pretty nice. The backpack isn't too terrible. And you do at least have some of the car being used in the robot mode. Like the legs are pretty much all car, parts of the forearms are car, so it's not as bad, like I said, as you know, the various RCs we've gotten. And she looks pretty cool. Loving the red and white color again, and now they've, since you don't really have much in the way of blue, because that's now tucked around the back, you get a little bit of blue in the waist section, which adds a nice little splash of extra color. The added grays also help to break things up a bit, and then you also get some orange and blue for the face, which looks good, which we'll see more in detail later. And yeah, she's a pretty good looking robot. I like what they did here. As I said, I'm not a Minerva guy. I don't really know that much about the character or the toy history or anything. I just think this looks neat. And I think, personally, this looks better than what they did for Elita 1. So this makes me happy. There is some detailing. I mean, a lot of the detailing here and like the legs and stuff is stuff that was visible in the vehicle mode, but then the thighs don't really have a ton of detailing, but there is some. There's some interesting detailing in like the waist and torso section. I actually like how they painted the midriff area gray, so that it actually, like, this is, I like it because it's not something that I'm used to seeing with Hasbro stuff, because normally if they were going to paint anything, they'd only paint one part. Like either they'd paint it down here or they'd only paint it up here rather than painting both, so it actually looks like a cohesive piece. So I like that they did that. The chest looks cool. I kind of like the venting that they added and the extra lines and like little ab lines and stuff. There's also something that amuses me greatly about the fact that she has a little collar with like a little opening and everything. I don't know why that amuses me so much. And then the arms are pretty simple, but they get the job done. And yeah, good looking little robot mode. The head is, from what I understand, kind of on point for Minerva. The paint on the black antenna is a little sloppy on mine, especially right there, but oh well. I do, though, like the color separation here, how you've got the white plastic, but then you've got the red for the bits around the face, the black for the antennas, then the face itself is orange, and the eyes are blue. I do kind of wish that the orange that they used was a little bit brighter, because the orange is pretty close in tone to the red, so it kind of bleeds together where it touches. The blue eyes stand out really nicely regardless, but the orange is a little bit too close to the red for my liking. As for articulation, the head is on a ball joint, so you can look left and right and kind of up and down and kind of tilt, but not really, so it's mostly just the swivel. The arms can go theoretically a full 360, but because of the backpack, that's not happening. And it can go out almost 90 and rotate the bicep. You get over 90 degrees of bend, which is good. And then the wrists also rotate, which is also nice. You get a waist swivel, which is part of the transformation, but also just works. And if this backpack is firmly pressed against the back, you're not really going to get much rotation, but because it's so easy to move out of the way, you can rotate this pretty easily, and that can go all the way around. The hips go forward to about 90, can go back not all the way. It's interesting the way they designed this, actually, because if you look, the hip is seated up here, but as you swing it forward, the hip section comes down, meaning it's attached more towards the front of the hip, which is actually kind of clever because it allows it to swing at an angle so that this skirting stuff doesn't like block the rotation forward. It's sort of like a pseudo drop-down hip almost, just in terms of like placing the swivel point in a specific spot. So yeah, you don't get as much back because the hip rotates up into the skirting, but it is cool how they actually thought that through so that it could go forward. There's a thigh swivel that does the thing that I like, where you've got this plating that kind of covers up the joint a little bit, but you still get a decent amount of range in both directions. The knees can bend to 90, you'll say, which is fine, par for the course. And then the feet do not go forward and back, but you do get ankle tilt, kind of. And this is one of the things that really kind of annoys me about the design here. I feel like, from what I saw in videos of Alita 1, this didn't seem to be a problem with the Alita 1 mold, so it might just be something with Minerva, I don't know. But I'm not a fan. The ankles, like something about the way they shaped this joint and the feet means that the feet kind of lock in place like this, and if you want to tilt them, you're kind of flexing plastic into plastic, and it will snap to a certain degree here, and then it's more free. So that means if you lock it up here, it's just, you're not going to get much in the way of effective tilt because it doesn't want to move. And if you move it incorrectly, you could potentially pop the foot off. You're not going to break anything, but it just seems like a not great design because it means you can't do gradual foot tilts. It's basically just like anything past this, yes, but even then when it's like this, you can see it's kind of wiggly and it just doesn't line up right. So I don't know why they shaped it the way they did there. That's kind of unfortunate. Just wish you could do like proper A-stance ankle tilt stuff, and you just can't with this figure. The other problem is the backpack. I don't mind the backpack, but the problem is you've got these flaps that stick out of the side, and these are unnecessary because they plug into the forearms here. And like, yeah, it means the forearm is a little bit slimmer in this spot, but now you've got these flaps sitting right behind the arm, so if you want to bring the arm back, it's not happening unless you're pushing the entire backpack up and out of the way. That's not great. That could have been handled better. Like, either have these fold in and around, which they're not going to because it's one big solid translucent plastic piece, or just don't have these and have the arm be a little thicker so that it lines up. Like, I don't know, it just seems unnecessary to have those flaps there that get in the way of articulation. Now for the pods, these also can move if you want to. You can bring them up and down over the shoulders, which actually is a pretty cool look in my mind, but isn't isn't necessarily a Minerva thing, but you can do it. It does flex the plastic on this armature a little bit to have it pressed up against this piece right here. But still, I like that it's an option. And also, if you wanted to, I've seen this happen. I've seen people do this in other videos where you can basically just keep this down and pegged in so that it's more of a cleaned up backpack with no pods sticking up. So I like that the option's there. It kind of gives me a little bit of a Legacy Wild Rider slash breakdown vibe in that it's kind of like, why did we do this? But it is what it is. And as I said, like for Minerva, at least from what I've seen from pictures and stuff, the shoulder pods kind of make sense. And then I can give her her gun. It can plug in where there are 5mm ports, like up here, or bottom of her foot if you really wanted to, or down here, but we're going to put it in her hand. And there is Minerva with her gun. So yeah, it's I definitely have my issues with this figure, as I feel like I've made pretty obvious. But I do think she's neat for what she is. I love the colors. The colors are fantastic, and the transformation's pretty cool. I feel like they accomplish quite a bit with the transformation, and it's just nice to have something that's a little bit more involved and effective than some of the recent RCs that we've gotten. And as you can see, she is a deluxe, so she's kinda short compared to, you know, tall deluxe and a Voyager, because of course, let's bring her closer to Burnout so you can get a little bit more of a direct deluxe to deluxe comparison. And yeah, she's about the same height as Burnout, though Burnout has a bit more mass just because of, you know, her vehicle mode and her design. So I guess that's comparable. I don't know. I don't even know what I'm saying anymore. I'm just saying words. I talk about this like I'm some kind of authority on the subject. I am not. Not even a little bit. But because we got to round this out, here is Minerva with the duck tank. And that does it for Legacy Minerva. And I, as I said many times, like I don't have a connection to the character. I don't have a connection to the portion of the show that she's from. But I think this is neat. I like the transformation. I think the the colors are fantastic. The sculpting in a lot of it is great. What they do with the legs is really fun for the transformation. It's just like, I feel like the backpack could have been handled better. Have it tab in a little bit more securely. Have it not be in the way as much as it is. The feet, like the ankle tilts, just don't work right, and that's really disappointing. But even so, it's still a cool design, it's still a cool looking robot, and it has a lot of sentimental value to me now because of that whole associated thing of, like, you know, this is a physical reminder of the fact that I went through something that for me personally was really scary, and I came out the other end just fine. And it's kind of oddly fitting, as I'm thinking about it, that she's kind of got the whole, like, you know, like I don't think she's a medical character like Ratchet, but she's got the medical vibe with like the white color scheme with like a little bit of red. And of course, Walgreens exclusive, because that's what they do with the Walgreens exclusives for some reason. So kind of funny, as I'm thinking about it, that she has that kind of medical vibe when she was, you know, actually tied to a real life medical thing for me. Again, not saying she is a character that does medical stuff, just has that kind of connotation because of the release and all that. But that is enough carrying on for me. That is what I think of Legacy Minerva. What do you all think of this figure? Or the horrendous, obnoxious, exclusive distribution nonsense that they do in the US all the time? Whatever your thoughts, feel free to chime in down below. I always enjoy hearing from you all. Thank you everybody for watching, and I still, with the outros, no idea what I'm going to change it to, but next video is Gonna be a toy.